Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
Correct. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields.
We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get the one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Well, you know what, guys?
Hello.
Here we are.
What do we need?
Well, what don't we need? I need the everything.
Yeah.
What a show. We got a fun show this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good one.
It's a fun show this week, and despite that I am going to talk about a cult that probably has the highest body count in history, I don't know, it's still kind of a cheerful show.
I know, right?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk. I'm going to
have some fun with a cultic body count. Why not?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a dead science that also has a body count, not quite as big as Uncle Mark's, but
hard to know. Hard to know.
Hard to know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you got to add up a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the survivors didn't fare too well.
Right.
Madness was a thing. So, but it's fun.
Yay.
And speaking of madness, I am going to talk about the new and crazy ways in which y'all and I can marriage.
Yeah, and partner and all the things.
Yeah, we're going to talk to our friend Tanya Jarvik, who's an amazing person and someone who has thought a lot about human relating, and that's coming up at the end of the show.
She's a relationship consultant.
Yeah, she's a guru.
Which sounds like something the CIA would call you so you could work at the embassy. Oh, I'm the cultural attaché. Oh, I'm the relationship consultant. So
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And just to remind you crazy kids, we are coming up on our third year podiversary.
Oh, my God.
Word. And that's going to be September 27th. We're going to do, what would we call it? Is it a live stream?
It's not a live stream.
We're going live.
Yeah.
Fuck it. We're doing it live.
So we're going to do a Zoom, and if you want to join us, you can join us. All you have to do is send me an email at howtoheretic.com. Make sure you just put Zoom in the subject line. You don't even have to put anything else if you don't want, but money and praise is always fine. And then the Saturday before, we will send out a Zoom invitation. It will be September 27th, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we'd love to see your faces. We're gonna show you how we make a show.
Yep. And quick reminder that if you wish to remain anonymous, you need to take that upon yourself to not turn on your camera and make sure your name does not show up.
Whatever you put, whatever name you want to be called by.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
There will be some audience participation. And we're going to play a game, and
we will be broadcasting. We'll be throwing the video up on the YouTube channel and all that sort of thing. So
if you have anonymity concerns, you need to take those precautions because playing will be consent. We will definitely do that, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah. With that, shall we do a show?
Let's do a show.
Show on.
Uncle Dan.
Yes.
We live here in these United States, which
How
is...
dare you?
By any definition...
Don't dox me.
By any definition, this is the greatest country that ever was or shall be.
Case closed.
Yep. There's just no way to look at it differently.
There's no arguing your way around that one.
A case was never made, but it is closed and it is final.
I have on my wall, though, a map of the world, and it turns out there are myriad other countries...
Gross.
And different kinds of people with different histories. Who knew?
Gross.
I don't know. I checked with the State Department, and I'm not allowed to go anywhere. So
exactly. Well, there's one country whose history is particularly rich and complicated, and that country is Asia.
It's a neat country.
It's a big country.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
But Uncle Mark, I think you have some to regale us with a tale from the Far East.
From the Orient.
My favorite thing is how conservatives somehow always call Africa a country.
They so do.
I know. It's like, well, okay, that's dumb. Yeah, so this is a crazy story, guys. You know those stories about how Hitler got into politics because he failed to get into art school, and therefore he was left unable to fulfill his dream of becoming history's angriest painter,
right?
And how Fidel Castro would have stayed out of politics if the Pittsburgh Pirates would have fulfilled his childhood dream of becoming a professional baseball player. Well, those stories are a tad oversimplified and mythologized, it turns out, but there's a kernel of truth to them. But today, there's another story of a young man's dreams denied, causing him to get into both politics and, very weirdly, religion, that caused what is considered the bloodiest civil war in world history.
Whoa.
And it's a story I bet you've never even heard of, because I certainly hadn't heard of it until recently. And that is the story of a lad called Chinese people, I'm so sorry. Ho Xiu, born in 1814 in Qing Dynasty, China. That would change his name to Hong Shiquan after a sort of road to Damascus moment. And it was this weird little dreamer that would go on to found the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. And that would lead to the Taiping Rebellion, which would end in the death of a whole fuck ton of human beings, and may even have been an inspiration for one of the most seismic events of the very seismic 20th century. That sounds fun, right, guys?
Yay.
I am on board.
So, Hong Ho Xiu was born into a family with enough means to get him a formal education, which was kind of rare at the time. And it seems he was a good student. And he looked forward to a life in the civil service somewhere in the Qing imperial government. So when the time came, he traveled to the nearest big city, which was Guangzhou, to take the imperial civil service examinations. Well, apparently he choked. He didn't pass, which caused he and his family a lot of shame, and because his education had cost them pretty much all they had, he had to go back home and work as an agricultural worker, which was a position he saw as very much beneath his station in life.
Boo.
Now, if Hong was smart, he would have done what Baby Mark did 33 years ago, which is to have a math major friend take his Algebra 150 test, miraculously causing him to pass that class with a solid B-. True story. True story. But for anyone alarmed by this particular moral failing on my part, fear not. I dropped out before coming close to finishing my degree, so no harm, no foul. Someday, you can all come to my house and see the empty space on the wall where so many academic diplomas and degrees and certificates of merit are not. So,
yes. I have all of those too.
Yeah, we share that blank wall. So somehow, after a lot of struggle, the embittered young Hong scraped together the resources to study for the exams a second time, and returned to Guangzhou to try again. And great news! He failed. To be fair, the test was apparently crazy steep, right? And only 1% of test takers passed it.
Oh, wow.
But still, look, you're in the bottom 99%. But still, he felt humiliated again. So it was around 1836, and Western Christian missionaries had made some major inroads into imperial China, mostly due to the hostile English occupation of the Manchu Qing dynasty. While Hong was in Guangzhou, he heard the preaching of the American Congregationalist minister Edward Stevens and was giving a tracting pamphlet. He was only mildly interested, but hung onto the pamphlet, apparently, probably so he had something to boil and eat after so many failed tests. So after returning home, picking more cabbages, and finding time to screw up his courage and wounded pride one more time, he headed back to Guangzhou in 1837 and took the imperial test again. But great news, this time he failed a third time. Returning home in utter defeat, the 23-year-old Hong Huoshu had a complete nervous breakdown and was basically on suicide watch. As he lay in a depressive delirium, fretted over by his family, our plucky young test taker had a sort of vision. A powerful, luminous male figure in a black silk robe, wide-brimmed hat with a golden beard appeared to him saying, "Hey, I was just talking to this weird kid in a forest in upstate New York, and you seem like you could use a little pick-me-up as well." No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
This is a whole different first vision, you guys. So anyway, this black-robed visitor informed Hong that he was his son and that young Hong had a whole celestial family, including a wife and a big brother. Cool, right? You know that moment when an adoptee meets their birth parents and a whole new batch of siblings and cousins, which is kind of a huge mindfuck? But then they also find out they all live in the sky? How about that?
And there's a wife, too.
And you got, when did that happen? So Sky Daddy in the Hat also told Hong that he was sad that the people of China were worshiping demons, that Confucius was being tortured forever for leading them astray, and he gifted Hong with a sweet dream sword with which to exterminate the demons infesting heaven.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The Sky Father also told the feverish Hong that his given name was somehow sort of taboo, so he told him to change it to Xu Quan, which became his nom de guerre and the name by which history remembers him.
And is Chinese for L. Ron Hubbard. I don't think people know that.
Well, I didn't know that until I got a tattoo of it. Right? And then I was like, oh, great.
That's
right at the base of my tramp stamp.
Yeah.
That's quite the dream. That's pretty hefty.
Well, it's funny. There's an odd aside. We've discussed at least one other fever-induced, divinely inspired transition before, that of the public universal friend in episode 141, which is an amazing story about a person who fell into a fever and awoke not only with a new name and divine instruction, but had transitioned from the sex assigned at birth as well. So if you don't know that story, give it a listen. But the friend's transitional experience had a somewhat rosier ending than the newly christened Hong Zhiquan, as we shall see. So despite the incredible info contained in his high-temperature hallucination, Hong didn't seem to do too much with it in the immediate aftermath. He managed to find work as a school teacher, feeling like that was at least of higher social status than harvesting vegetables, and spent a few years teaching, seemingly contentedly around the region.
Hopefully he wasn't doing test prep.
Well, I've got great news. Apparently, having not learned his lesson the first 3 times,
Oh, come on.
our plucky Hong Quixote took one last tilt at the windmill of the civil service test. And great news this time, he failed again. So, as George W. Bush so eloquently put it, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, we won't get fooled again. But see, you
can't get fooled again.
You fool me 3 times, it's hard to put food on your family.
That's called a hat trick.
So at long last, being done with this shit, he rediscovered the little pamphlet he had received from the preacher Edward Stevens titled Good Words for Exhorting the Age.
Oh.
And from that,
Hong a great title pamphlet.
It's a great title of a pamphlet. Hong Zhiquan was able to understand what his fever dream was really about. And it's a doozy. So obviously, the guy in the black robe and the hat was the Christian God.
Right.
And Hong's big brother in the dream was Jesus the Christ.
Of course.
And God wanted Jesus' little brother, Hong Zhiquan, to rid the world of demon worship, meaning anything Confucian, Buddhist, or traditionally Chinese. Hong told his cousin, who said, the math checks out. And together they commissioned 2 giant swords from the sword-making guy for the demon-ridding chore. Sadly, the swords were later stolen by bandits, which is too bad, so sad. Oh well. So Hong and his small but rapidly growing band of followers began burning and smashing whatever Confucian statues and books they could get their hands on. This was obviously an alarming development to the local Confucian authorities, and soon Hong and his merry men were basically homeless, casting about the land for souls to save and Buddhists to smash. You know, if we know anything about Chinese society, tradition's kind of important.
Really?
So soon, Hong found his holy self back in Guangzhou and into the presence of an American Baptist missionary with the incredibly interesting name of Issachar J. Cox Roberts. I've never seen that name before, Issachar, whom Hong asked to baptize him, but Roberts refused, being highly dubious of the group, later saying they appeared, quote, bent on making their burlesque religious pretensions serve their political purposes. He was prophetic.
Well, I mean, it's like, yes, but how is that different from any other?
I was going to say, that should be the motto
any...
for all religions.
It's really interesting to hear a Baptist missionary refuse to baptize somebody.
Right.
It's in the name, after all. So a disciple of Hong had by now founded a secret society in support of his views and junior messiahship called the God-Worshipping Society. Through this...
They're good at names.
They're really good at names. It's just clarity matters.
You said that was a secret society?
It was for a while.
Okay,
but
it
not
just
long.
doesn't seem like a smart name for a secret society.
Exactly. The dirty pornography pervert society at BYU. Damn it! Why did we call it that? Through this, Hong and his followers created what they called Taiping Christianity, a thoroughly weird syncretic faith with a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a whole lot of Bible, but with plenty of traditional Chinese plug-ins. Most especially the belief that the Chinese had already discovered the God of the Bible first, before anybody else, through the now diminished belief in Shangdi, which basically means emperor, who is the oldest Chinese traditions, was a supreme father god or sun god of some sort, right? It's also important to note that Hong and his followers were mostly from the Hakka ethnic minority, who were looked down upon and even persecuted by the ruling Manchu majority. So when the word of a Hakka messiah causing a spiritual revolution began to spread, the Hakka began to convert not just individually, but by whole villages and towns at once, because there was finally hope for a better life and improved status. Nothing else was working. So Hong Xiuquan began to feel the power of this huge grassroots surge. He became a little bit emboldened and declared himself an earthly as well as spiritual king, and that the Manchus of the Qing dynasty were not only demon worshippers, but were themselves demons in need of extermination. So, that was considered not really cool by the Manchus, who had all the money and the armies and the navies and stuff. So they banished Hong for a while, but he found his way back to increasingly swelling ranks of fairly radical sort of Christians. And in 1851, on Hong Xiuquan's birthday, the God-worshipping Society of Taiping Christians declared war on the Qing dynasty in order to establish the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, kicking off 15 years of total fucking war. And I do not claim to even be a novice at Chinese history, and reading up on this period is like drinking from a fire hose.
Right.
But Lord, Chinese society and politics was complicated, right? Yes, the national imperial government had an army, but so did almost everyone else.
Right.
Local officials, opium warlords, conglomerates of business interests, prominent families, religious groups, etc., all had large numbers of men under arms, and their loyalties were kind of shifty. The Qing dynasty had also recently been greatly weakened by their defeat by the colonizing English forces, who were also players on the big, bewildering chessboard of the Taiping Rebellion. But overall, most of these forces aligned against the radicals of the Heavenly Kingdom. Hong's stated goal was not just that of political change or an improved status for his fellow Hakkas, but a total reordering of all of Chinese society according to his interpretation of the Bible, and the extermination of the ruling Manchu ethnic group. So, pretty much the rest of China was not super down with that. And of course, for the English occupiers, who were just after Chinese resources, the market requires stability, and to get the tea from the plantations to the ports, and radical revolutionaries bent on genocide and led by baby Jesus' Chinese little brother was going to put a dent in that stability. So what preceded was literally total war, with whole regions being destroyed completely, and every man, woman, and child that fell under the competing armies' control being pressed into service of one kind or another.
Oh, this is the story of Mulan. You tricked me. I didn't realize that we were going to that.
Mulan. Spoiler alert. She's going to kick some ass. So after Hong's forces captured the city of Nanjing, which he considered his rightful capital, he had every Manchu man and boy inside executed, then marched all the Manchu women outside the city walls and had them burned alive.
Oh, my God.
But after more than a decade of brutal fighting, things began to finally turn against the Christian soldiers. A top Taiping general, Shi Dekai, was captured and sentenced to something called Ling Qi, also called slow slicing. This is where the term death by 1,000 cuts come from. And if you never do anything else I ask, please trust me and do not do a Google image search for that.
Okay.
It will haunt you.
Consider it done.
Yeah, there are
Sold.
pictures. So Hong Xiuquan and his closest followers found themselves surrounded and besieged by imperial forces in Nanjing. So running low on food, Jesus' little brother decided to make like Nebuchadnezzar and eat a bunch of wild grass, which it seems gave him severe food poisoning, sending him home to his sky family in June of 1864. With that, the Heavenly Kingdom of Taiping collapsed within days when the imperial forces captured the city and dispatched the remaining leadership. The Qing rulers had Hong's body exhumed, cremated, and had the ashes blasted out of a cannon to prevent any remnant from becoming a sacred relic to any other, underground followers in the future.
Note to self: make amendment to living will.
Totally. I was like, they were pissed, but that sounds like a first-class send-off to me, right? Like,
that's totally it. That's what I want.
That's actually what Johnny Depp arranged for Hunter S. Thompson's funeral. He was like blasted out of this big gun or something. His not bodily, his ashes, thank God. So this is hard to even comprehend. But in the 15 years Jesus' kid brother tried to reorder China and China refused to comply, 30 million people were killed or died of the famine and disease that the war caused.
God.
That is the total current population of Malaysia. Historians count the Taiping Rebellion as the deadliest civil war in human history, with our horrendous American Civil War claiming just 620,000 lives. And there are even, I couldn't find any kind of backup for this, but there are recent estimations by Chinese historians that the number could be twice that at 60 million. It's just staggering. So in addition to that, young Chinese radicals in the 20th century look back favorably on the Taiping rebels, both for the incredible audacity of taking on a dynastic system that seemed an immovable object in Chinese life, but also for their religious edict of all property being communal property. That's right. There is good evidence to suggest that a quasi-Christian radical cult with a self-divining leader who realized his claim to godhood in a fever dream was an inspiration for the Chinese Communist Revolution, which, unlike Hong Xiuquan and his followers, is still a thing. And that, my dear uncles, is the story of the biggest cult body count incident you've never heard of, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom.
That's have you been to Guangzhou? Either of you? I have, and it's a lot like this story. When I went there, I didn't know there was a city in the world called Guangzhou before I walked into it, and it was the biggest city I've ever seen in my life. It might still be. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and we came
millions and millions now, right?
Yeah, millions. It's an enormous city with just monolith, like big brutalist skyscrapers everywhere. And I was coming from Hong Kong, so I knew that the cities could be big and crazy. But it's like there's so much of the history of China that it's just like, and their current culture. It's like I didn't even know this city of 12 million people existed until I stood in it.
Yeah, and there was a religious fanatic that caused at least 30 million deaths not that long ago.
Yeah, and in a century of tremendous conflict, and I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, this was happening at the same time as the American Civil War, so it's recent enough.
Wow.
And we've never gotten over our Civil War, completely obviously. So
do they do reenactments of the Taiping Rebellion?
Sure, firing his ashes out of a cannon at the end. That would be awesome. So there you go, guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much for all of that. Let us move on.
Hey, Dan.
Hello.
What is this? You know what I mean? What is this between
no,
us?
I don't.
What's going on here? What's this? There's a chemistry. You know what I mean? There's a spark.
Are you saying you're in love with me?
Well, I don't know.
It feels like that's what you're saying.
I just feel like maybe together we can make something special.
And
you know what that special thing is? An Uncle Doug.
Well, hello.
When an uncle and an uncle love each other very much, there's a special hug.
I'm going to find out that my older brother and my podcast partner who's younger than me are my parents.
Yeah.
We are.
All right.
And you're
enough.
Your own grandpa, so
there's love in the world of illusion.
Oh, my
Well,
gosh.
speaking of transitions, segue.
We weren't, but go on.
Well, your uncles have
Speaking
nothing
of
else.
awkward transitions, I think is what you mean.
We three are but chroniclers of the myriad bad ideas and embarrassing practices of our young species. Many of these ideas and practices, while ancient in origin, are alive and well and actively making the world a worse place. I'm looking at you, Bikram Yoga.
Yeah.
But some of these ideas and practices have gone the way of the dodo. Today I'd like to talk about one of those ideas, which is not only functionally extinct, but gave birth to and then gave way to something positive. And not only that, but its very name is a metaphor for backward and useless belief systems. Today, let's talk about alchemy.
Woohoo!
Yay. The earliest evidence we have of alchemy as an independent discipline are some Chinese texts dating back to the 1st century BCE. However, before long, it was being practiced all over Asia, Africa, and Europe. Some of the practices of alchemy date back many centuries before that, but it wasn't until the 1st century BCE that they were gathered together in kind of a common discipline or with a common goal. It appears that alchemy was born in 3 different regions of the world and maybe independently of each other. Those 3 regions were China, the Indian subcontinent, and the Mediterranean region. The latter gave way to the Greco-Roman, Islamic, and eventually medieval alchemy, and is what we are most familiar with. Like its eventual descendant, chemistry, alchemy had many applications. The most famous was chrysopoeia, or the transmutation of base metals like lead or mercury into noble metals like gold. That's kind of what most people think of when they think of alchemy, and they are not wrong.
That's kind of the plot of Pretty Women, too.
Mark, you say that about all of my segments.
It's true. I don't know. One of us is obsessed with Pretty Woman, and I don't think it's me.
Alchemy, however, also attempted to produce an elixir of immortality, often referred to as the Philosopher's Stone. Alchemy was also an attempt to create panaceas capable of curing various or all diseases. So it might be time to dust off them alchemy books after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, if bleach doesn't work, up your butt, some mercury or some lead will.
Why not?
Why not? What do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? Alchemy was preoccupied with discovering alkahest, or a universal solvent, as well as the perfection of the body with alchemical magnum opus. So the term magnum opus actually comes from alchemy.
Does it?
Yeah. Really?
It's
the great work of perfecting the human body.
Huh.
I am the only person that I know of to have achieved. So
it's true. You are at last you are perfect, and you can go to Collab.
Well, since I haven't seen you, Uncle Dan, in like 4 months corporally, I'll have to take your word for it. You may very well be like a golden god.
See, everybody.
I'm becoming what Patton Oswalt calls B-word fat. You can tell how fat I am from when I use words with B in it. Okay. Alchemy was preoccupied. Oh, sorry. Like I said a minute ago, alchemy sprung up in 3 different regions at pretty much the same time. As time went by,
coincidence can't be.
Well, that's what's really fascinating. The 3 branches of alchemy eventually became acquainted with each other and largely merged. But there is little to no evidence that they had a common origin. So it seems that alchemy, like its sister proto-science astrology, is a necessary step in conscious intelligence. So, they both sought to explain the natural world, and both led to actual sciences that actually do help explain the natural world.
Well, and also, like, if, those were all cultures in the world that valued precious metals, and gold was an important commodity, right?
Right.
So it does make sense if, do you have to go dig it out of the ground with a pickaxe, or can we just make it?
Right.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, and also, it's easy to see Mercury plays a big role, and it's easy to see why it does, because Mercury is fascinating, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't...
And delicious.
And delicious.
And it goes down smooth.
Yeah, that was one of the bad sides of alchemy, but gold and lead share a lot of characteristics. They're both very heavy and very soft.
Yeah.
Right. They're close together on the periodic table.
Doug, you and I share those characteristics as well.
But they, they're close together on the periodic table, which of course none of these people knew about. But you can kind of see that, like, okay, I've got this heavy soft metal here, and I've got this very precious metal here. They seem similar. Maybe I can figure something out, right?
Yeah,
right.
So, before we dig into the alchemy we all love and know, let's just take a second and talk about the 3 independent strains. Chinese alchemy was strongly tied to Taoism, unsurprisingly, and was most interested in medicine. Some traditional forms of Chinese medicine, such as acupuncture and moxibustion, found their way into Chinese
alchemy. Don't make up words.
All right.
No, so
what is moxibustion, Doug?
We should actually dig into this a little bit, because it's the burning of mugwort on various parts of the body.
Yeah.
Is that like cupping? Is it like a cupping thing?
It's not. It's equally effective. How about that?
Does it leave the hideous fucking scars that look like you've been attacked by a Lovecraftian old god octopus?
No. No, it's got that. It's you put like a little bit of mugwort on a leaf and light it on fire, like on certain points of the body. It's supposed to pull energy or something.
It's called moxibustion?
Moxibustion.
Moxibustion. Copy that.
Yeah.
No safe word.
So those traditions like acupuncture and moxibustion.
I can't remember it. Fuck. What's the
Mugwort.
Yeah. You know the leaf. What? God.
So things like that and acupuncture found their way into Chinese alchemy. But perhaps the most lasting contribution of Chinese alchemy is gunpowder.
Right.
Yeah, in the 9th century, Chinese alchemy.
Thanks, Chinese alchemy.
Thank you, China.
It's
really great.
worked out great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
In the 9th century, Chinese alchemists were trying to create an elixir of life, and what must be one of history's biggest misses came up with black powder. They quickly figured out how to use black powder in fireworks and nothing else, and everything's been fine since.
Yep.
Chinese alchemy also held the belief that small doses of mercuric sulfide was the way to go. This led to widespread suicide by those who ingested it. And then rather than change their practices, the alchemists simply explained that such a death was actually desirable and granted access to Taoist heavens. So,
Oh, nice.
Wow. Yeah. So that's where the American pharmaceutical industry was born.
Exactly.
Oh, no, actually, the side effect is good. That's a good thing. You're welcome.
That extra arm is going to help.
Yeah.
Indian alchemy traces its knowledge of metallurgy and botany back as far as the 2nd millennium BCE, but began as a distinct discipline in the 2nd to 5th centuries CE. This strain of alchemy was very focused on the creation of the divine body and reaching immortality in this life with this body. So Indian alchemy is mostly in Sanskrit and is not surprisingly heavily linked to Buddhism, Hinduism, and certain yoga practices. Mercury was also very popular in Indian alchemy, as was sulfur. There are recipes for a mercury mix that consists of semen from the god Siva and menstrual blood from the goddess Devi. So enjoy.
Where do you get those?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it just at the local market, or?
I think you kind of need to use a stand-in. So, like Mark said, it's one weird night.
Yeah.
So Hellenistic or Mediterranean alchemy, which I'm just going to call alchemy from now on, probably got its start with Egyptian jewelers who were making gold trinkets and statues for ceremonial purposes and became fascinated by the properties of gold and other metals. The most important figure in alchemical mythology, is Hermes Trismegistus, or the thrice great Hermes. But he carries the caduceus, or serpent staff, that Uncle Dan talked about in episode 122.
Sure.
The caduceus became the principal symbol for alchemy. Hermes is important because he laid out basically all the principal tenets and practices of Hellenistic alchemy, many that survive to this day. A bit differently from Chinese and Indian alchemy, which were born and nurtured in more isolated environments, Hellenistic alchemy came about at the height of Alexandria and was influenced by Pythagoreanism, Platonism, Stoicism, and Gnosticism. So it's a bit more heady. A foundation was that all things in the universe were formed from only 4 elements: earth, air, water, and fire. It's the manipulation of these 4 elements that forms the backbone of alchemy. Believing their practices to be mystical, alchemists sought to obscure their work through codes and ciphers so that other alchemists wouldn't steal their recipes and secrets. That didn't do a lot for the advancement of the science.
Yeah. It's one of the first principles of science.
Yes.
Don't share your
Hide
work.
everything. Alchemy was not quite a religion, although it had mystical and mythological beliefs, and it was not quite a science, mostly because it had mystical and mythological beliefs. As such, there are examples of pagan, Jewish, and Christian alchemists. So you can kind of be that and those other things. There are, of course, examples of alchemists suffering condemnation and persecution by those same religions, because everything in history was terrible.
Yeah.
After the fall of Rome, alchemy became almost exclusively mystical and stagnated for a couple hundred years. Then in the 7th century, the Islamic world adopted alchemy and ran with it. They probably have the greatest claim on the name of the game, with the Arabic word alchemia. In the late 8th century, Jabir ibn Hayyan
Nailed it.
introduced a new approach using scientific methodology and experimentation in a controlled environment called a laboratory. As I mentioned, many alchemists believe their practices to be mystical and so endeavored to keep them secret. Hyen realized that in order to progress, alchemists needed to share their understanding with each other, so he encouraged alchemists to keep detailed records of their work and not encrypt them. Hyen is thusly known as the father of chemistry, although it would take a long time for that science to really develop.
Yeah, well, the Arabs were far ahead of the Europeans with science generally, weren't they?
Especially in this era. This is algebra came out of this.
They had developed really advanced optics.
Yep.
Yeah.
So things took off after that. Islamic alchemists soon discovered hydrochloric, sulfuric, and nitric acids. They also discovered a chemical mixture called aqua regia, which was a combination of nitric and hydrochloric acid, which could dissolve gold, which was crazy. That was obviously a big deal in alchemy. They actually did something.
So, they did the opposite, which is destroy gold.
Right, exactly.
Yes. We want to make gold, but we ended up making it go away. You're welcome.
But that's so funny you say that, because that's exactly the thinking. They figured out how to destroy gold, so their thinking was, well, we just have to figure out how to reverse that.
Right.
Right.
Makes sense.
How do you put this acid in reverse?
Yeah.
And one Islamic alchemist, Jabir, began adding elements to the accepted list of 4. He was the first one to add actual elements to the list of elements, such as sulfur, mercury, and salt.
When was this? What?
This is like the 8th century.
Wow, crazy.
And before anybody asks me, I know that salt is 2 elements, but progress is progress.
Yeah.
Jabir, by the way, also postulated a theory called corpuscularianism, which held that all physical bodies are made up of minute particles.
Wow.
Yeah. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, that science didn't actually kind of pan out, but he was certainly thinking of atomic theory. At this time, what we would call chemistry actually began diverging from alchemy. Although they shared many of the same practices and techniques, chemists eschewed the beliefs in transmutation of metals and elixirs. But don't worry. Every time things seem to be going in the right direction, here come the Europeans to ruin everything.
Yes.
As the Islamic Golden Age faded, alchemy made its way into medieval Europe with the 1144 translation of an Arabic book called The Book of the Composition of Alchemy. No one knows what it was about. Medieval alchemy became once again obsessed with the transmutation of metals and once again began cloaking their work in codes. Although no one ever was able to transmutate metals or find the key to eternal life, their attempts did lead to accidental discoveries. And although still mystical in nature, the Catholic Church mostly tolerated alchemy, probably because they didn't have enough gold in their golden city made of gold.
For sure. Like, any way you could get more gold, we're doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So during the Renaissance, a dude named Paracelsus sought to further distance the actual study of chemicals from the mystical arts of divination and angel summoning. It was around this time that the terms chemia and alchemia became distinct. So even as it advanced, the mystical side of alchemy was too great a temptation for many. Most famous among the practitioners of alchemy at this time was Isaac Newton, a man so astoundingly intelligent that we used his theories to put a man on the moon and to probe shooting past Pluto. This tells us all one very important thing. Very smart people can believe in very dumb things.
Yeah.
So it can happen.
True dat.
The Enlightenment finally drove the stake through the heart of alchemy. The practice of chemistry began to be seen as noble and enlightened, while the practice of alchemy was seen as antiquated and barbaric. But like all dumb ideas, it lumbered on for a while, with alchemists claiming to have made lead into gold as late as 1781. And again, like all dumb ideas, it came back from the dead during the occult revival of the 19th century. However, because chemistry was an established and robust science by then, these new alchemists focused on the spiritual side of alchemy and left the notions of transmutation alone. Alchemy in our modern times has mostly taken on the form of names of yoga studios and coffee shops. It's in countless, referenced in countless songs and poems, and even movies like Harry Potter talk about alchemy. But it's pretty much always seen as an ancient, dead, and silly science. There are, of course, to this day, people who claim to practice this form of spiritual alchemy, and while that can be somewhat disheartening, take solace in the fact that they're universally seen as kooks. And that's what we should take away from this. Alchemy was a response by a burgeoning intelligent species to observations of the world around it. As our intelligence grew, so did the sophistication of our explanations. Once we discovered that some of our explanations were false or antiquated, we got rid of them. And through this process, we discovered and developed chemistry and modern medicine. Do you hear that, religion? Once we didn't know how why the sun rose or the seasons changed, so we made you up to explain them. Now we know all the things, so can we please put you in the dustbin of history along with your cousins, astrology and alchemy? And then I just close. I mean, can you imagine? A world where, as we as a species progressed in our intelligence, we realized that religion no longer was adequate, and we teased out things like psychology or philosophy, and then just got rid of all the rest, like we've done with alchemy. Yeah. How much better a world we would be living in right now.
Well, it would certainly be different. It would certainly be different. It's hard to, imagine a world without religion, even though, John Lennon told me to. But he
was very specific about that.
Yeah, very specific. And also possessions, too. But it's, when I despair of that religion has stuck around so long and it still is just such a dangerous kind of infection. And then, Doug, you and I were talking the other day about like the religion in Dune, which is supposed to be 50,000 years in the future.
Right. 25 or so. Don't at me.
Oh, sorry. 25 or so. Yeah. It's, it despairs me even more, but there it is.
You know that book's not like in the strictest sense true, right?
Don't take this away from me. Don't let me have this.
How dare you, sir? Yeah.
So that's it. That's your alchemy.
That's alchemy.
Well,
so get out there and make some gold.
Dumb subject, and you spun gold.
Make some gold. Well, thanks, Doug. I'm going to go drink that mercury.
Hey, fellas.
Hello.
I enjoy doing this show, but I'm not just doing it for shits and giggles. I am doing it because because we love the people.
Yes.
And every now and then the people love us back, and one of the ways that they love us back is by throwing money at us. So we owe some thanks to some generous donors.
Let us thank them.
Indeed.
Some givers to our show. And those givers this week's valued givers are Jonathan, Josh, Igor, and Eric.
Yay.
So all of you, thank you so much for your generosity.
Yes.
This week it was all men. Ladies, you got to step it up.
Got to step it up.
You're being made to look bad is what's happening.
No saints or heavens this week, which is an unusual week, and that kind of hurts.
Did it hurt your feelings?
Hurts my heart a little bit.
Oh no!
Because I like to give like that, but that's okay. That's okay.
Listen, are you happy out there? You've made Uncle Mark cry.
Oh my God, you guys!
You should be happy. It's my loftiest goal.
That's my favorite Donald Trump tell is when he's really mad that somebody did something, and he's like, "But that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay."
That's all right.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's delightful in that way.
Yeah.
Listen, kids, all guilt trips aside, we love our donors very much. If you're willing and able, we would love for you to give us your money.
Yep.
The way that you would do that is to go to howtoheretic.com and click on the support us thinger, and that'll take you to various ways to give us money. We certainly appreciate all of our patrons.
Yeah, we got Patreon. You can use PayPal if you want. And remember, every week we are producing patron-only content.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, and you get access to that. Not only that you get the show on Monday when the slobs have to wait till Wednesday.
Yeah.
You get it on Monday, and then you get like a whole nother 20 minutes or so of this beautiful balderdash. Mm-hmm. And who doesn't want that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So do that. If you can't afford to do that, we're not mad, but go ahead and rate us, review us. Go write a review of us.
Yeah, we're disappointed. So you can fix that by writing a review and giving us. You can make the disappointment sting a little bit less. Okay.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So give 5 stars anywhere you can. It actually is more helpful than you think. So if you can do that, if you can do both, you're even the better, the best. So we love you. And let's move on.
Well, fellas.
Yeah.
Hello.
Listen, I had a whole introduction written up for this segment, but instead of that, I think I'm just going to I'm going to get a little personal. Is what.
All
I'm
right.
Look,
Is this about my weight? Is that what this is again?
Oh no, I'm going to get personal about me. I'll talk
God
to you
for
about
once.
your weight off the air because it's getting a little out of control. But
Yeah.
For right now, what I want to talk about is, look, we've all come out of some closets in our time. As atheists, Mark, you as being gay, Doug as being the Doug of the group.
Awesome.
But it's time for another coming out. And
It's good that you
is-
came out as awesome, Doug, because nobody was able to tell prior.
Yeah.
It was so secret. You were you kept it really hidden.
It's weird that you were so quiet about it.
My awesomeness was in Canada with my girlfriend.
So I am going to come out now. It is my turn to have a coming out. Because though I am as straight and disappointingly straight and cisgendered as they come, I do have one thing in my life that I'm not tremendously open about, but is a really important part of my life, and is a straying from the norm. So that thing is that my wife and I are, for lack of a better word, polyamorous. We are ethically non-monogamous, which is a weird thing to say and a weird thing to be. And I thought we should all talk about it because marriage is one of those things that is being currently redefined a lot in our society. And especially when you sort of shake the shackles of religion, you one of the things that you can kind of one would naturally start changing their views on is sex and relationships. So I thought I would bring my friend Tanya Jarvik on to talk to us about non-monogamy, and she's a relationship consultant. Her business is called Radically Rooted. Tanya Jarvik, thanks for coming and chatting with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
It is a fraught and crazed topic, and one.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was a fraught and crazed time, an unprecedented time.
It is.
It's all of that. It's
all the things. It's all the things. But yeah, I needed a smarter voice than my own to talk about this. So I'm very glad that you could join us.
Oh, okay. Well, I am bored and stuck inside in toxic air, so I'm delighted.
That makes you the perfect. That makes you the perfect guest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
bored, stuck, and suffocating. You're perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Portland is not a good place to be right now.
Yeah, and
No,
if you go
it's
outside, you
not.
just get kidnapped by some federal goon. So you might as well stay in.
Yeah. Oh man. So Tanya, tell us about you and how your business came to be, and where your interest in relationship consultation arose.
Wow. So how you want me to go to the way, way, way back?
You go back as far as you want to go, girl. It's all you.
Okay. Well, so I guess I'll start as the teenager who was Mormon but reading Robert Heinlein sci-fi. So anyway, I got married at 19 to a non-Mormon iconoclast, and having read Heinlein myself, and deciding to leave Brigham Young University after my freshman year because the religious stuff just wasn't working for me.
That's weird.
Weird, I know.
Yeah, really strange.
To each their own. Whatever. To each their own.
That thing they say about the slippery slope is so true. One day you're a good girl at BYU. The only bad thing you've ever done is paint your fingernails black and listen to Depeche Mode. And the next thing you know, you are dating the wrong person and remembering that Heinlein sci-fi about all the 6 groups and the 8 groups and whatever they are.
Well, ironically, the slippery slope is a sexual position at BYU as well.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say it's in the Kama Sutra.
It's a non-gratifying sexual position at BYU, which is their specialty, right? Yeah.
So yeah, we got married at 19. And he wasn't Mormon, and, we were living in sin for all of 2 months or something. My parents were really upset that I was sharing an apartment with my boyfriend. And so we got married kind of as a way of making it better for my folks. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you are not the first Mormon to have done that.
No. Well, yeah, by that point I was already headed out the other side.
Right.
Into the crazy wild world of being ex-Mormon. But anyway,
Of exposed shoulders and visible ankles.
Yes, exposed shoulders.
Whoredom.
Well, as I said, it's a slippery slope. So I remember my soon-to-be husband and I having a conversation around monogamy and whether we were going to insist on this from each other, since we were getting married at 19. And we actually came to an agreement before we got married that we didn't want to be those people who got to be 30 years old and had never had sex with anybody else and then had to break up because of that. Mm-hmm. So we just had an agreement, hey, if this is something you ever find yourself really interested in doing with somebody else, just be honest with me about it. And so that was our agreement. Not that we talked about it for a really long time or anything, but we did have that prior understanding. And so when something came up several years later, for me, I fell in love with somebody in my graduate program. I remembered that conversation. And I was like, oh, crap, what if he says no now, because... But he didn't. We had a conversation about it, and his actual words were, if this is something that is going to make you happy, why would I be unhappy about it? So I was like, well, great. I have carte blanche. And it wasn't quite as easy as all that. There was some getting used to this new thing in our relationship, namely that I was having a sexual relationship with somebody else. And there was a lot of fraught conversations. But my husband Tyler and I are still together. It's been 27 years now, and I also have another life partner that I've been with for 8 years. Tyler's had other relationships. So having spent a couple decades both being in this kind of alternative milieu myself and having all kinds of experiences myself, and watching my husband and my partners have their relationships and navigate this ethically non-monogamous territory. Basically, I was poly before it was a thing, before the internet even.
You're such
started.
A hipster.
Yeah.
And so I have more long-term experience with this than most people. And that's how it is that I came to start my business, is that, after many years of people saying to you, you need to have a radio show, you should have a blog, so then I started a blog. I did an advice column from probably 3 or 4 years. People would write in actually from all over the world and ask questions. And then I thought, well, I could just charge money for this and have people consult with me and get paid. And so then that's what happened.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this, just so that people have a sort of starting point understanding. What is non-monogamy? What is polyamory? Like, what do these things mean?
Well, I actually teach a class on this called Destigmatizing Alternative Relationships. So there's an umbrella term that's sometimes used that's called ethical non-monogamy to distinguish it from the usual form of non-monogamy.
Right. And because, to be clear, non-monogamy has been around for as long as monogamy has been around.
Yeah,
It's
very,
Almost as
very-
long, like 20 minutes. It's like 20
Right.
minutes younger. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's actually a lot of non-monogamy happening. It's very normalized in our culture. It's called cheating. And the idea is that you're not supposed to do it, but people do it. Anyway, ethical non-monogamy, or what's sometimes called consensual non-monogamy.
Or free
ethical
range,
because-
right?
Free range.
Yeah. Cage free.
The idea is that everyone in that relationship structure, so if it's a couple, they've both agreed, like, this is our agreement. I understand that this is something that you're doing or you want to be doing, and I'm cool with that. That's what distinguishes it from the other form of non-monogamy, the non-ethical form.
Right.
And there are a whole bunch of different ways of being consensually non-monogamous. You know, you can have you can have swinging, you can have polyamory, in which there's more focus on relationship and romance, as opposed to focus on recreational sex outside the relationship. Then there you have relationship anarchists. You have open relationships. That's the free range. So maybe there's less exchange of information about what goes on. And other relationships or trysts are kept more secret, but there's still an agreement. So it varies. There's all kinds of options.
Well, that just sounds terrifying.
Does it?
That's just way too much.
Too many options.
Yeah, that's just...
You know what? I'm taking my keys back out of the bowl. Because that's just a lot to know at this point. I didn't realize what I was getting into.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, make sure that you pick the right boat to get into. You know?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, I have, I'm on my second marriage, but I also, in conjunction with this marriage, I have another partner. And so, we had this funny moment when my partner was talking to her neighbor, who's a therapist, about our relationship. My partner had just told her that she was getting a divorce from her husband, and she told her neighbor, that she was in this non-monogamous relationship with me, and her therapist neighbor said, "Oh, that never works." So, I guess my question to you, Tanya, is, does it ever work?
Well, okay, so I've had many people tell me that my relationship with my husband is doomed. And I'm just curious, how many years does something have to work before it works?
Well, listen.
28.
Yeah, 27. We lost Janis Joplin and Amy Winehouse and Kurt Cobain. So this could be a momentous year for something beautiful to end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess the jury's still out on whether it works.
Yeah.
But I will say I am part of a group of women in Portland. We call ourselves the Poly Moms. So there are 12 of us, and we're all in some form of non-monogamous relationship. And I have seen both with my clients, both relationships that work and work in the long term, and relationships that don't. And the thing, poly relationships, open relationships, swinging relationships, right? And the thing that just kind of cracks me up about this is that half of supposedly monogamous relationships end in divorce.
Yeah.
Right.
And nobody says, monogamy, it just doesn't work.
Right.
So
When clearly its track record is mixed.
it's
Well,
mixed.
and it's like, how do we define working? What's the goal of a relationship? Because marriage for thousands of years was an economic institution. It was about your social status and being able to care for each other financially.
And entangling different families in such a way that they kind of formed an alliance,
Right.
that sort of thing.
It's only been the last 100 years or so that anyone has even, thanks Jane Austen, but the thought that it's about love or personal fulfillment is a really new concept. So, like you say,
It's not Adam and Steve, Dan.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's gay people doing marriages. It's just mass hysteria out there. So the concept of like what works and what doesn't, it astounds me that someone could think of a 5-year relationship and say, well, that didn't work, even if it was beautiful for all 5 years and then ended peacefully, or
right.
or a 10-year
marriage
relationship
that lasts forever and people are miserable and want to claw each other's eyes out every day of that 50 years. Why is that working better?
Yeah. So
I see we've just gone right to talking about my parents. Okay, great. Let's do it.
Yeah. So the question is, I guess what that leads to is, why are people choosing this path? Why are people deciding to look at marriage in a different way than traditional?
Wow. Well, I think there are a lot of answers to that question. I mean, you can look at it a lot of different ways. I think a lot of it has to do with, one, that the way marriage is set up actually doesn't work for a lot of people. Your average colonial marriage lasted 11 years because somebody died. And I think now the number of people who are going to be happy with only one person for 50 years, I think that works less well now that we don't have extended families nearby and the rest of our social structure is weird. Okay, to put it in a nutshell, I would say that most people do better with multiple important relationships in their lives, whether those relationships are sexual or not.
Right.
So I am a big advocate for multiple intimacies, and I'm not gonna proselytize polyamory or multiple sexual partners for people who aren't into that. But I would say almost everybody is going to do better with multiple intimacies in their lives. And so I think we are living in a culture that doesn't have a lot of intimacy, and a lot of people are lonely, and a lot of people don't have affectionate friends or people they feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and emotions with. So I think more open arrangements come out of that we're a lonely culture and people are looking for it's not working to put all of their emotional and sexual needs on one person over decades, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you familiar with Esther Perel, who's
Esther Perel? Yeah, or however you pronounce her name. Yes, absolutely.
I was watching a thing and she was pointing out that we are now in a position where we're asking significantly more of our partner, of our marriage partner, and then we're asking for it for double the amount of time that people used to be married.
Right.
Because we live longer and all of these things. So it's insane that we would ask everything of one person.
This is either an argument for more intimate sexual and emotional partners or shorter lifespans, and I can't decide which one I think is the greater good, right?
Yeah, well, you choose. It's on you. That is a personal
These
choice.
days, I look at my fellow countrymen, I'm like, maybe shorter lifespans.
Yeah, the coronavirus seems to be on board with that plan.
Yeah,
it does seem like
it's
maybe
trending
Mother
well.
Nature's making the choice for us at this point. So there we are. I wonder. I have one friend who, when he found out that Andrea and I were non-monogamous, said that he thought the whole reason for marriage was that you wouldn't have to think about all of this anymore. So, which
I'm glad the world has romantics like that.
Right?
What a Casanova.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. There's a very valid question in that, which is, it's a really complicated lifestyle. So, Tanya, can you talk a little bit about sort of the pitfalls and the difficulties of non-monogamy?
Well, I agree. It is a complicated lifestyle, and it's definitely not for everybody. However, I disagree that people who get married who think that they're never going to have to think about this again, they're living in a dream world. And what I find more often than not is that people think they don't have to think about it anymore. And then 10 years into their marriage, 20 years into their marriage, and they haven't had sex in 2 years or whatever. Somebody is starting to think about it an awful lot. And then it turns into an issue, and people are unhappy. And I have had people write me, not you, Dan, but I'm going to say somebody, I've had other people from high school who I haven't talked to since then, who somehow, I don't know, see me on one of the things that I've done is tell my stories publicly on some platforms, and somebody will get a hold of that or we'll find out, or I came out on Facebook as poly several years ago. Anyway, people will write me and say, I'm miserable. How do I talk my spouse into opening up our marriage? So, so I think people do end up thinking about it. And then it causes so much distress when it's packaged as a kind of betrayal of this. I thought we were never going to have to think about this. You were always going to only ever be interested in me. And now it's being taken very, very personally, as opposed to it works actually a lot better when both people understand that they may not always agree about how interested they are in sex or what they want out of relationships, and that there's an openness to exploring different solutions to this together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we never, growing up, none of us ever got, well, I can't speak for everyone in the world, but the idea was you meet someone, you get married if you were Mormon like we were, as quickly as possible right after your mission. And there's no talk of, well, are you completely compatible people? Do you really know each other? This is the only person this is not only your only sexual and emotional partner for life, they're your sexual and emotional partner forever.
Yeah, eternity.
For the eternities, right? And so there's no, there's certainly in the Mormon spectrum, there's just no preparation for even a conversation like that, right?
And certainly not about sexual compatibility.
Yeah.
Right, because these are people who ostensibly shouldn't have had sex before.
And they ostensibly shouldn't have spent any time thinking about what they might want sexually, because they were supposed to be moving to a hymn as soon as a thought like that cropped up.
Yeah, and may well be, practically strangers. They may have only known each other for, a lot of times less than a year.
Yeah.
Well, and let's face it, when you're in your early 20s, to think that you're going to remain statically the same human that you were then for the rest of your life, with the same interests and the same desires and want the same person and want all the same things is ludicrous. So you're going to have to morph your relationship no matter what. There are just questions of how to do that and what that ends up looking like.
All relationships go through changes, all of them. And I think a big thing that happens in all relationships after some time is that there gets to be a friction between the we and the I. So a lot of what we're prepped for before marriage or before long-term commitment to somebody is how to build this we. And what happens, especially to people who get married really young, is that there was no individuation into I as an adult, my own person. And I think this ends up being a crisis in most people's long-term relationship. And it gets solved in different ways, but I think it's a natural thing that happens, is how do I individuate in this relationship?
You have to add that complication, particularly in Mormon relationships, where the first thing you're supposed to do when you get married is have a child as quickly as you can. And that just perpetuates that lack of self and lack of choice. And, you bring another life into this. You're a 21-year-old girl. You've known your husband for a year.
Yeah.
And now you have a child together.
You have a baby, but you have a baby at home before your first anniversary many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you're locked in that. Not that having children is in any way bad, but it definitely complicates trying to have an individual sexual identity or an individual identity at all, on top of all of the other pressures you're now under in society and religiously.
Yeah.
My parents, I was born on my parents', an hour after my parents' first anniversary, 1:00 in the morning.
Oh, so they waited.
They waited like a whole, 3 months or whatever. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, I guess there's not a conclusion to this, because I think that this whole conversation of what marriage is in our current society needs to be an ongoing and continually updated conversation. But I guess one of the things that I wanted to just sort of get you to talk about sort of in conclusion is just this, is this kind of where we're headed? Do you feel like I've heard you use the term freestyle marriage. It feels to me a little bit like everybody kind of is going to have to learn how to individually craft their own marriage. Is that something that you feel is a fair assessment?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, what is the future going to hold? I could see it going so many different ways at this point. I hesitate to make any predictions about large social movements because I've been so surprised.
Look, right now, it's either going to be a pansexual free-for-all in 20 years or the Stepford Wives.
Yeah, there's Stepford Wives or The Handmaid's Tale.
Or The Handmaid's Tale, yeah, exactly.
Like any number of dystopian alternatives to my happy pansexual freestyle marriage.
Yeah, I think it's one or the
utopia.
other. There's not going to be any in between, I don't think.
But I can say in my Portland bubble of the world that there's a lot more interest in what I've called it freestyle. I also sometimes call it DIY relationships, like instead of going and getting the prepackaged version from Walmart, you assemble it yourself from components that make sense within your own personality and your partner's personality, right?
Yeah.
So I am definitely a fan of that. And I think for some people, opening up the sexual part of the relationship to, or even also just the romantic and who are we sharing a house with even. I mean, it can work differently for different people. So the term that I have made up that I ascribe to myself that I'm really fond of actually is relationship permaculture. And because I'm a crunchy Portland hippie and I like my garden, right? So that's more of a systems approach to building communities of autonomous individuals who can rely on each other to take care of themselves, their relationships, and each other. Because I think freestyle kind of corresponds to what some people call relationship anarchy. And I think they have a lot of really great ideas over there in relationship anarchy camp. But I have been finding that most of the people who are in that camp are in their 20s or maybe 30s. They don't have children and they flit about being their beautiful selves in all their various relationships, however long or short the relationships may be, and focusing on abundance instead of scarcity. And I love that. But I think we have bigger social issues that need to be tackled, and that there has to be some kind of way of achieving a stability. Like, who can you count on? Who's your family? And so the concept of duty actually, to me, I think is important. If we want to build something sustainable, that's an alternative to there's one way, one right way to do marriage and monogamy is compulsory. we have to have an alternative that's sustainable.
Well, with that, I will say that if people require assistance with their new, with concepts such as these, how can they find you to consult with?
Well, they can find me on the internet.
You have that?
I do.
Okay. So where do they go?
So my website is radicallyrooted.com. So, you just type in that www thing and then radically rooted, all one word, and .com.
Okay.
Or
rooted is ROOTED, right?
Yeah, rooted, like as in plants. That's
Right.
that permaculture reference thing that I love so much.
There you go.
Same thing, radically rooted love, all one word, at Gmail is my email. So that too.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
Tanya Jarvik, thank you so much for chatting with us. I'm sure we've opened a lot more questions than we've given answers, but I think that it's a fascinating topic, and
This has been a
it.
productive 4-way, I would have to say.
And totally safe too. No STIs on this 4-way.
No,
Yep.
well, not yet. I'll keep you posted.
And entirely consensual except for Doug. So that's great.
Yeah.
I think we're doing real well. Thanks again, Tanya.
All right. Well, it was a delight talking to you.
Oh, thanks so much.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to cheat on your partner, send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you had a dream after failing a test for the 4th time, tell us about it, because that's kind of what happened to me at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. I am also on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
And thanks to our generous patrons.
Yes, and thanks to our Jesus' little brother, Cody Layton, for editing the show.
And thanks to all of you, friends, for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Au revoir.